Are you looking to level up your author business?
Are you pounding your head against a wall, wondering what your next step should be? Then join me, Daniel Willcocks.
And me, Sacha Black, as we haul ass each week in a bid to level up.
Level up!
Come along for the ride as we delve deep into the business of writing,
Craft,
entrepreneurship,
and every level of the author journey. This is the Next Level Author Podcast.
Hello Achievers, and welcome to episode number 56 of the Next Level Authors Podcast, a podcast where we hold each other to account and track our step-by-step progress as we level up our author business. My name is Daniel Willcocks, and here with me every single week is...
Sacha Black.
Sacha motherfucking Black. How are you?
I am...
Oh, that's not a good pause.
Okay. I am swinging between fine, existential crisis, and hysteria.
It's the best places to swing to.
I know, right? Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool, that's a synopsis.
I finished editing my side characters this week. I literally smashed out like 40k in edits, which is huge for me. I'm sure that's nothing for some people, but that's really big for me. And before I give it to you, I still have to do a bit of work on a couple of sections, which isn't going to take me too long. I'm just so drained. I need a couple of days before I can do that work. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to you, and it's not going to be as good as I can make it. Look, see, I can't even use sentences. So there's that. And then I alluded to this a week or two ago, or 3 weeks ago, whenever it was. And my 2-year anniversary of having left my day job is in a week. Oh, it's a week today.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I am having an existential crisis. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just feel funny about this whole thing. I feel funny about the fact that I've made it 2 years, the fact that I did make it 2 years, the fact that I'm still so traumatized from the old job, and it doesn't feel like very long ago and feels like forever ago. And I don't know if and I'm not as far as I thought I'd be, and yet I'm further than I thought I'd be. And like, I don't know if I'm doing the right things. I don't know if who am I? What am I doing? Should I even be doing the stuff that I'm doing? Should I go in a different direction? Like, I'm just questioning everything right now.
I feel like what you've just done is summed up every day of what this feels like. I feel like, yeah, as you were.
Yeah, well, no, like that's it. Like, and then the hysteria is just the tiredness and like the grueling of this life, but also hysterical excitement because I am finally finishing things. Like, I finished the workbook last week. I think I mentioned that. And then this week I've done the edits. And then by the time we come to record next week, I'll have edited the workbook. So yeah, like, I don't know, I'm just getting all kinds of finishing energy, and I'm really in love with finishing energy right now. Like, it's making me so happy.
That's awesome. Congratulations on finishing that book.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know. Like, I had last week off, which was glorious. And then this week, I think, has just been weird. This is why, and I know it's not an excuse not to take time off, but this is one of the things that I do find hard about taking time off, is getting that momentum going again and getting your head back into the space of the things that you should be working on, and just kind of going and building it all back up again.
I have to say, honey, you look like you've had a week off too.
Thank you.
You've lost like about 7 years in age.
No, I do definitely feel better mentally for it. And this week I've been able to kind of crack on and do a lot more than sort of previous weeks.
It's funny how you can do that after rest. Yeah,
it's really weird. But I'm kind of in a similar camp to you, that I'm working towards finishing some stuff. I've got a few. I'm basically in a bit of a mix of slightly adjusting my path, and I said this to you off air, and I'm not going to go into massively deeply here because there's lots of stuff in the background. But I'm at a point in which there's been lots of stuff floating around that I've been trying to find out how to unify and strategize in a way that it will like help people and also sort of support the income and support my goals that I'm after. And I think I finally this week figured out what that is. So over the next few months, I'll be introducing some bits and pieces to my business to just level up and find a way to sort of help authors on a bit of a bigger scale with any luck, if everything goes right. And one person I did want to shout out at this point is I did have a chat with the incredible Rachel Herron this week, and I had like half-hour chat with her, and it was just the most uplifting, the most inspirational, motivational just chat. She was very, very generous with a lot of like knowledge and information. So I don't know if she's listening to this, probably not, who knows, but Rachel, thank you. And if people don't know Rachel or her podcast, go check it out at How Do You Write.
I adore Rachel. She's like one of my favorite humans to listen to, because you cannot fail to come away smiling. Like, even if you're in like the grumpiest mood ever, she will make you smile. She is a ray of delight. Yeah,
it's wonderful. And it was just really, really helpful to a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. So I don't know, to summarize, my week has been a bit all over the place, really. Like, I've been getting stuff done. It's just really, really inconsistent. But like I say, hopefully just getting back into the swing of things will build that up. And I've got a few projects that I need to get working on in the next few weeks, which is quite exciting. But what's something that you've enjoyed this week?
Oh, shit. I will say that I enjoyed, oh no, I must have put it away already. This is the Time War by something Al Matar and Max Gladstone. I can't remember her full name. Anyway, and I'm not sure if I enjoyed the article about their book more than about how the book was written, or if I enjoyed the book the most, but I just loved everything to do with it, because it's a novella. Yeah, they say it's a novella, but it was still like over 200 pages. I didn't realize novellas could be so long. But anyway, I mean,
up to maybe 40,000 words.
Yeah, it feels like it was longer than that. Hang on, I'm gonna have to get it because I need to check. This is the Time War. Here we go. Right, so I mean, it's not like a huge book, but it was 200. Oh no, it was 198 pages. So it was 200 pages. Anyway. There we go. Amal El Matar, that was her name. And for listeners, the book was called This Is How You Lose the Time War. Anyway, this was a award-winning book, because I've mentioned before that I am looking to read a few more like award-winning stories. And this one, it was either the Nebula or the Hugo. I can't remember which one. I feel like it was one of those two. It could have been something else. Anyway, and it won Best Novella. And this story is basically about two beings. I don't know if they're like cyborg, half human, or just like AI or sentient. I don't know. They're about beings. You don't get a huge description. And the two characters are on either side of this war, and it's a war fought through time. So you're flipping through different like eras in time. And what happens is these characters leave each other letters in the most imaginative ways you can possibly think of. And so half of the book is letters, literally letters, and half of the book is story. And they wrote it together, sat in the same room, handing each other the laptop. So one character's called Red and one character's called Blue. And whoever was writing the letters from Red, the opposite person would write the intro to that section. And it was just fascinating to read how they collaborated on it. And then having read the book as well. And it was fantastic. I loved the prose. It wasn't, super rich or anything, but I just loved their style and description, and I loved the concept, and I just thought it was fantastic, and I can completely see why it was an award winner.
The cover doesn't really speak that story. No,
it doesn't. I don't really know why they're birds, other than the fact that one is red and one is blue. Do not let the cover dissuade
Don't judge
you
a book
from
by the cover, folks.
Yeah, seriously, because it is fantastic. The only thing that I would say, the only sort of markdown that I gave it is it was a little bit confusing at the beginning, but it's such an easy read that you just stick with it, because I've read it in a couple of hours, so
There you go. I've got two things this week. So number one, a book that I finished, which was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And the reason I quite enjoyed that book, it's similar. It was quite slow getting into, but I don't know if that's just because I was like really busy when I was like trying to get into the story. But it's a horror, and it's all about a haunted house. It's a haunted house story. And the thing is, haunted house stories have been like done to death, whether in like short stories, novellas, or full novels. And it was just a very, very interesting take on what the haunted house genre is. So it was like, as you go through this story, the story's about a woman who, when she was 5 years old, her parents were paid to live in this massive manor, and they bought this manor. And a series of weird events occurred that she doesn't remember 25 years on. But her dad passes away and she inherits the manor. But when they lived there, so they're only at the house originally for 2 weeks before all these weird events occurred, and her parents just left the house and they all just ran out. But her dad in that time wrote a book about the experience. And in that story, it's all like the different experiences of like things ringing, the house sort of speaking, and all the sort of horrific events that happen. But it's basically like one chapter will be her perspective in the modern day as she goes back to this manor and tries to retrace the steps to find out what happened. And then the next chapter will be a chapter taken from the fictional published book that kind of almost like run parallel through the story. And you see like minor differences and things that line up. And it's almost like this piece. And it just got to a point where I was dying to know what the truth was. So I got about 30% through, and then I just like raced through the rest of it because I was like, I just do want to know, because it was played really, really well. And the other thing that I enjoyed was I went to a personal training session this week on Wednesday, because my sister and my mum go to this personal training thing. And I was like, I'll go along and just give it a go. And it's the first time in a long time that I've done intense exercise. Like I run fairly regularly, but in terms of like strength and, you know, combining everything else and doing this sort of training regime. And I'll be honest, I went lightheaded and nearly threw up and then like stopped 20 minutes before the end, but I feel so much better for it. And part of me expected that to happen because it's been so long since I've done anything like that. And when I do it, I give it 100%. So that's really like helped my mental state over the last couple of days, I think.
I want to talk about both of these things. I read a book a bit like that, The 10,000 Doors of January. Is that the thing that I said I enjoyed last week by any chance?
I think so.
No, okay. One of the characters, I don't want to give a spoiler, but there was a book within a book, and it was that kind of thing. And I loved it for that reason. On the exercise, this is one of my biggest problems with fucking taekwondo over Zoom. Like, you just don't get the same workout. Like when I used to train in person and we used to fight and we do rounds of sparring and stuff, I would look like a fucking tomato on steroids, and I'd be gagging and like retching. And I have passed out at taekwondo because I've pushed myself that hard, and I fucking love it. I love the burn, and you just cannot get that over a computer or like, you know, via Zoom or whatever. So yeah, I am so with you. I absolutely adore that, and I love that you pushed yourself so hard you basically puked.
I just think, what's the point if you're not going to give it your all? Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
I
live for the burn, baby.
Yeah. Weekly confessional. Dan will do edits on When Winter Comes. Done. Finish ready submissions for his anthology, done, and do his ghostwriting project, done. So completed it, mate. Sacha will make significant progress with Side Characters.
Well, I finished it, didn't I?
Is that significant though? Is it?
You know what? And I nearly said it last week that I will finish the book, but it just felt like such an enormous task to edit. Like,
and you never know, do you? Really, like you get to one part and you're like, oh, this is going to unthread everything.
Yeah, but do you know, it's less about that for me and more about, I never know what's going to happen with school or like with the kid. And it's always the life stuff that gets in the way for me, I would say. So it's never really about whether or not I can do it. I know if I had a whole working week, I could easily do it. You know, I did it in 4 days. It's more the life stuff that's the issue always for me.
Yeah. Level ups this week will go to John Cronshaw, who says that he leveled up by doing his first live video and posting it on YouTube. It was terrifying, but he's going to do the same next week. And congrats, John. And I like the fact as well that lots of people now are posting into the Facebook group with their level ups.
So I love this.
Please keep sharing anything, like no matter how big, how small, if it feels like a level up to you, it's a level up, and we will read it out on air for you. Patreon, we have no new patrons this week. But for anyone that wants to go over to our Patreon and join us for our monthly lives, that is over at patreon.com/next level authors. And our next live is on Monday, the 10th of May. We've also had a couple of new additions to our Level Up challenge. So Luke Condor, Yanni, Meg, and Rianne have gotten involved and pledged the things they're going to achieve by the end of June. And everyone within that thread who completes their challenge is entered into a competition to win one of 4 prizes, one of which is a 30-minute phone call with myself and Sacha. One is a 30-minute consultancy call with Sacha. One is a 30-minute coaching call with myself. And one is a hardback copy of my new self-publishing blueprint, which is now available for pre-order on Amazon. And I'm trying to get up onto all the other stores. I've just got a few more bits to do. So that's exciting. Oh, and anyone who does fail the challenge once you've pledged will be doing the cinnamon challenge and sending us your recordings. So hopefully we'll have nothing to show, but I am also quite excited to see a few potential cinnamon challenges.
I know the minute I finish editing my workbook, I'm getting in that studio because I do not want to fail this challenge.
Have you watched any of the clips of people doing it?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so good. I did put a video of it into the chat thread. Comments. Last week's question was, which part of your life would you memoir?
Okay, so Carrie says, I'm going to share this episode with my dad. He has wanted to start a memoir, but doesn't know where to start. As for me, it would probably take me a long time because I've repressed a lot of it. But I'd write about my pregnancy and when my daughter was in the NICU for 3.5 months. Parenting is already stressful without your baby being in hospital for the first few months of their life. She was born premature. The reason is just to offer hope to other parents going through it and offer tips on how to lessen the stress a little, like actually taking time for self-care so you don't pass out and end up in the emergency room yourself. Meg Jolly said, good Lord, none. I feel like it would be extremely arrogant of me to assume anyone would give a hoot about any part of my life. The really hard stuff would be relatable, but honestly, this question makes me cringe. I don't feel like I could give value to people like that. Memoir reader here, not writer. Maybe one day I'll do something interesting enough. I just wanted to pause on this because I think part of the question was more about, like, I don't know if I said it in your episode or if it was in the interview I did with Janelle, but it was about the healing process and she gave me permission not to publish the memoir. So I suppose that was more the question, like, this isn't about necessarily publishing the memoir, but, you know, I think there is healing in writing. And so, yeah, I don't know. And also,
I've done it before. As I've gone through, it was a breakup that I went through. And then in the weeks following, I then in the evenings would just sit and write out stuff, just like brain flow from that. And it's never been shown to anyone. It's just a thing that's somewhere in my computers. No one can find it.
CJ Dainton says, maybe if I could pull all the bits of when I was cool, it would be a short story, but it would pack a wallop. I love that. And then Edwin says, I've never seen either the how, why, or when of writing a memoir. I don't read the genre, so it has little meaning to me. I could give a snippet or two of things that have happened in my life, so here's one. As a teen, I had a weekly gig mowing a lawn while the owners of the house were away, and I spent a lot of time at the local stables where, among other things, I took riding lessons. One hot summer day, I chose to walk the considerable distance between the two locations to arrive at the stables, where I found a couple of the owners washing their horses. When they saw me, one of the ladies decided to hit me with the hose. After that first cooling blast, I turned aside to put down anything that could be damaged by the water before walking boldly into the next blast. I love that. I love a water fight. Funnily enough, I was talking to my son this morning. I was like, this weekend, if it's warm, shall we buy some balloons and fill them with water and have a water fight? And he was like, oh, but what if it hurts? I was like, no, it'll be fine.
Well, it depends how big the balloon is, but yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it from the comments.
Cool. Thank you everyone for commenting. This week's question, I've changed since we started talking. So this is coming off this conversation, but I think it'll be useful. So you've just wrapped up Side Characters, which has been a work in progress for a series of months. It's been heavy mental lifting. It's been a lot of work. There's still some bits to go. My question to you is, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself and your process in your most recent work in progress or finished book? And that's going to be a bugger to put for an episode title.
Yeah. What have I learnt about myself? Okay, so I have learnt that I am a cruel piece of work. I am a nasty person to myself. Really, I know we talk about me being a villain queen, but I am a horrible person to myself. This week has been so hard mentally for me, and it's because I hate editing. But I have come up with a process. No, I have come up with a new framework, okay, for how I am going to work going forward to prevent this from happening. And I don't know if I can put this into my nonfiction, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to do skinny draft and fat draft, right? And so my skinny draft, I don't know if we've talked about skinny drafting on here before. I feel like we have. I don't know.
Touched on it, yeah.
Okay, so skinny drafting, essentially, I will forget whether or not I've got an outline. I will take each section and I will just put down anything and everything that I've got in that section. So I will write bullet points, I'll write a line of description, or I'll write a tip or a question that I'm going to ask the readers, or whatever I've got will go down. And something that will end up as a 3,000 word chapter might in a skinny draft be 1,000 words. And it's essentially to get down as much information as I have in my brain. If I have some description paragraphs, then I'll put those in. If I don't, it's not a problem. And then I will have a complete story, or I'll have a complete structure for my book if it's nonfiction. And then in the second draft, I will get to play. And this is the thing that I've learned. I really, really like playing with sentences. And this is why I don't want to write fast, because I love, love, love playing with words. And well, I say fast, 6 books a year is still fast for a lot of people, but that is the right balance for me. For me personally. And so in my fat draft, I will be doing all of the description, and I will be putting that characterization in, and I will be making sure the dialogue works and I don't have monomouth. And so some people might think that that is editing because I'm perfecting everything, but it's not in my brain. And I think I've realized how important framing is, because I was talking to Caitlin the other day, and this is Caitlin Duncan. And if you like YouTube, go and watch her YouTube channel. She has writer things, and she's amazing. Anyway, and she was basically saying that she is doing the same thing, but she is calling it skinny drafting and editing, right? And so for her, she loves editing, and so that was it was really important that she had editing in that in her process. Whereas for me, I'm trying to get rid of the editing, and I just found it fascinating that it is all about framing and context in your own brain. And so for me, even knowing that this is a thing that I'm going to do is helping to speed me up and take away that dread of editing, because fuck me, I cannot go through what I went through this week. I just tore myself to shreds, and I am still sat here, even though the book is finished, with it on my lap, unable to give it to you because I just don't feel like I can give it to you yet.
Don't want it anyway. Keep it.
And I don't know. So for me, I learned about framing and how framing is everything, and how framing can help you do things faster or better or more effectively or more efficiently. But you can't really do that unless you know yourself. And also, I think I found that I write cleaner than I thought I did, because I expected a lot. I expected to have to do more editing this week than I did. I still feel like there are sections that, like, look at me, I'm just trying to justify the fact that the book's not good enough. Like, this is what I mean. Like, I cannot tell you how abusive I was to myself this week. It was actually appalling. And like, I don't know, I can't, there is nothing that's going to come out of my mouth right now that's going to be positive or nice about myself, and that is awful. And it's just because this is what I get like when I edit, and this is why I don't like editing.
Isn't there a thing as well that says, like, if a boss or like a partner spoke to you in the way that you spoke to yourself, would you remain with them?
Fucking no. Are you joking me? I'd get them arrested. Like, it is it's like, it is actual mental abuse. Like, it is mental abuse. And yeah, I don't know, like, I need to not do this to myself because it makes it really hard to write. So I think that's probably, yeah, I don't know. I think framing is the thing that I've learned, other than the fact that I'm an absolute arsehole.
Yeah. I think as well, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. It's definitely about framing. I used to do what I call like a vomit draft, where I'd literally just, what's the stream of consciousness, whatever, for that chapter, and it'll, in the end, you kind of have some resonance of structure. Because I think it's quite a big leap to go from, here's an outline, or here's like a seed of a story, to, all right, let's do a full draft and start like really getting into the weeds and trying to make it perfect. And the first draft, you never really should try and make it perfect, because it's just you telling yourself a story. But it reduces, or can reduce, the amount of work, because if you go from planning to doing this skinny drafts, whatever you want to call it, you're giving yourself 30,000 potentially words of stuff, and you've got your arcs of the story, and you've got something you can at least look at critically and go, okay, this didn't work, this works, I can move this around, so that when you do flesh it out and create the main novel, you've then got points of reference, and it just feels like a lot of the story comes together. One of my coaching clients actually did a very, very similar thing, where they had about 30,000 words of this story, and at the minute we're working together to go through that, take all the pieces, make sure that they all kind of fit together based off of that seed of what the story is. And we've been working together to now pad that out and really sort of make that strong, and add the description and make the characters all linked together. So just it's that whole sandcastle analogy for me, of just, you have to put the sand in to then know that you're going to get the sandcastle out of it. And I think sometimes people do just jump straight from, especially first writers, straight from outline to, I'm going to write this perfect first draft. I just think skinny drafts are just a great way. If you do struggle with that, it's not for everyone, just to get over that. Yeah. My most recent finished project is a self-publishing blueprint. And I think I've learned quite a lot from that in terms of writing nonfiction, because I've published collaboration for authors. And for me, that was a really, really easy book to write, because I've been so entrenched in collaborations since I've started writing, that I knew all the steps that I wanted to take, and I knew what my process was and the important parts. And that's not to say that things obviously didn't change when I was writing it. But it came out very easy, because I laid out the steps, I knew what they were, and I just wrote it. My productivity book, which is still on my cards, has been a lot more difficult, because, well, I didn't know why in the beginning. Like, I know what I want to do with it, I know what I want to achieve, but I've learned quite a few lessons from that book. And number one is that I've got a lot of productivity books on my shelf, or stuff around like mindset or time management, and they all come from people who either have like really corporate backgrounds, or people who are like killing it in the entrepreneur space, and then like they have all the time in the world, they're traditionally published, so they're very much in a particular style. And I think what I fell victim to was allowing myself to feel like that's the type of book that I had to write, rather than the book that is mine, that tells my perspective of that story. I think I covered some of this in one of our previous episodes. So that was a big takeaway. And then I've been backwards and forwards with trying to like, I know the content that I want in there, it's just piecing the pieces together. I couldn't quite see it. So when it came to me starting on the self-publishing blueprint, which was nowhere on my cards, like February, now is done. Like, that's another one where I knew piece by piece what I was going to write. And the reason that I feel like I was able to do it so quickly was I created a 16-page PDF resource for my website as like a lead magnet for nonfiction. And in that, it was basically step-by-step editors, formatting, cover design. And it was kind of the overview, because I wanted to give the authors I'm working with something that shows them, or first time authors particularly, something that shows them the path ahead, because it's really overwhelming when you're like, I don't know the things that I don't know. So I created this. And so when it came to writing the book, I was like thinking about the outline and what I was going to do. And I was like, I've already done the outline, but the outline is the free resource. So all I need to do is take each individual step, bulk it out, add much more of the detail that I can't put onto something that's small, that's meant to be just a touch point document. And the weirdest part about that is I'm very visually creative. Like, I enjoy branding, I enjoy logos, I enjoy design. I won't say that I'm like the best designer, but I'd say that like I have abilities. And I really enjoy playing around and creating that kind of stuff. So when it came to creating that PDF, I made it look very smart. I made it look like nice in a way that I would like to see it presented, and hopefully would help for the readers to be quite visually stimulating and like highlight certain points. And just that process allowed me also to then think about each individual point as I was doing it. So what I think I'm going to be doing when I do get back into working on the productivity one is creating that overview outline of what each section is. So I won't go through each individual point because that will negate the point of the book. But like topic number 1, what fits within here? How does that tie with topic number 2? Like if I have one page and I have to detail like the key points, what are these? And it will just allow me to formulate the hierarchy of how the subject fits together. And it's such a weird thing because I've always when like, and I don't plan, I plan my fiction very, very minimally. But any kind of planning that I do has always just been black and white on a Word document or like just scribbled down. But I really think that seeing it visually is huge for me because it just allows me to organize my thoughts. And there's so much stuff, like we were talking this morning about sort of the difference between listening to audiobooks and reading books and watching films and things. And I've found that I just very much enjoy reading over all else. And the reason is because I enjoy looking at the structure of language, like whether it's like paragraphs, whether it's sort of like particular formatting choices or, you know, the way that words fit together and how the impact that has. So I think I'm just coming to realize that I'm a very, very visual person and I need to work that into my process and just take a bit more time to, particularly with nonfiction, to make that visual and work in a way that helps me then write the book.
I think it's funny because I do that in a very written way. So as I'm researching, I pull all of my notes into categorized sections, and those categories end up becoming chapters. I love it. I love
because I've got copious notes all written down of like, this is, you know, the individual section, like, blah, 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 but it's just not clicking for me. So I think that's gonna be my way forward. And then I get a free resource I can give to people as well as like a bit of a extra. Absolutely.
I've got to do mine this week, actually. That reminds me.
Boom. There you go. Always something else to do. Awesome. So the question we're asking you guys is, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself or your process from your most recent work in progress?
That is a long question. What have you learnt
about
yourself
we'll minimize
from the last book you wrote?
Yeah, we'll minimize that in post. It's fine. How are you leveling up your business this week?
I'm going to edit the whole workbook and I'm going to send Side Characters off. And no, I'm just going to leave it there.
I'm going to contact people and finalize all of my marketing strategy for Self-Pub Blueprint, which, ladies and gentlemen, is available on the 11th of June. I don't think I've said that yet.
No, I don't think you did. I didn't know that either.
Out on the 11th of June. So we'll drop a link in the show notes, but it's there. Sweet. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Hopefully it's been fun. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Hungry for more?
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear more of my angelic accent and Dan's dulcet tones on our other podcasts.
For more of me, check out the Great Writers Share podcast.
For more of me, listen to the Rebel Author podcast. We'll be back next week holding each other to account as Dan
and Sacha
become
Next level
authors.
That's just spill it.
Do it. Let's just do it.